Alex Pereira, light heavyweight, does he need to vacate the belt? Guys, the only thing that we have, okay, we fiercely adhere to the rules that we make up as we go, but we do then have something known as precedents. Once there is a precedence, we generally will default to it. This happened somewhere along the way. The first time I saw it, as a matter of fact, who was fighting, guys? It was early on. Anything goes, no judges, no rules, no time limits. Fights were about 3 minutes. They might go closer to 6. Somebody was fighting. Was it Hoyce and Shamrock in the rematch? Somebody was fighting. No, I don't think it was. I don't think they ever rematched until they finally got over to Bellator. Would have been in Severn? Severn and... There was a fight going on. And it ends up being a half an hour. But when it crosses 10 minutes, that's a long fight. When it gets to 18 minutes, this is crazy. When it gets to 20 minutes, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? You know, it's one of these things. So Big John is literally calling the match. He's in the match. They're live on pay-per-view. John's calling the match and having to get over to the cage to talk to the producer. What are you going to do? We have a pay-per-view window. If these guys want to go do one of these 24-hour fights, they can go right ahead, but the world isn't going to be here to see it. Like, what are we going to do? So they're deciding, they're yelling back, and John's got to call a fight, and he's got to go back, and he's got to get this information. It was one of these things live. And I don't know to this day if that was John's call and John told Art Davies, or if Art Davies yelled in and told John. To this day, I don't know. We're stopping this at 30 minutes, which was not the rule. It was not the agreement, but you certainly see why. Right? Like anything in life, we don't know that we need a rule. Stop signs didn't always exist. Right? In the 1800s, there was no such thing as a stop sign, but then again, Henry Ford didn't put the first Model T on the road until 1914. You understand why you don't know until you know. So, when we go down this road, Alex Pereira, when you want to talk about precedents, at some point, and guys, generally pretty early, we take a guy at his word. UFC 246. I remember that specifically because it was the first fight back during the COVID lockdown. Henry Cejudo wins, and Henry Cejudo seemingly retires in the ring. He wins, he's going to get millions of... I think Henry was like... and I did these numbers on my own, I wasn't told, but the way I calculated was like $2.8 million. Let's round up to $3 million for this fight. But then again, you get a check like that and you think, oh, right, when you grew up on dirt floors, you think you're set for life. At any rate, Henry said something that sure sounded a lot like I'm retired. And they went to Dana White afterwards and said, you know, what are you going to do? And Dana was very calm. And Dana said, well, I got to travel tomorrow and I'm going to be in the war room, meaning matchmaker room, on Tuesday at 9 o'clock. And I'm going to match up our next bantamweight title fight. If Henry contacts me before then, he'll be one half of that fight. And if he doesn't, it'll be for a vacated title. It was just very calm and very matter of fact. Henry did not contact him, and sure enough, on Tuesday at 9, they created it, and off we went. So Henry, from the time that he says, I'm not going to be defending this anytime soon, that was on Saturday. We got Sunday, Monday, and inside of 72 hours. Then you have a little bit of a different story. You have Khabib. Khabib was supposed to retire at 30-0. He surprised us all at 29. So because he'd already changed his mind from 30 to 29, because we realize things change. We get that as people. We didn't accept the belt back. He said, I'm done. Take me out of the rankings. They said, no. He said, I'm done. I am never going to fight again. Take the belt back. No. They wouldn't take it back. So they worked through that, and then pretty soon we were left with the same thing that we began with, which was Khabib's word, and took the belt. And George St. Pierre went 8 days after his glorious victory in the middleweight division. Gave the belt back. Not even a public announcement. Did it quietly. Sent the belt back. They took it back because they had his word. Now, Pereira is flirting with something very close, and I'm only asking for clarity. And I feel as the media, that would be responsible for me to do. Dare I go as far as to say I have the right to this information. But to take Pierre at his word, he's called for Jon Jones. And those boys haven't specified, but it sure is implied that that's going to be at heavyweight. There was not a mention of, hey, Jon, why don't you come back home? There wasn't a mention of, hey, Jon, I'll offer you a world title fight. Come see me. It was very clear, though not specifically stated, that they would be fighting at heavyweight. And now we have the information that Alex Pereira has a broken foot. Now, I am all for the idea that when a guy is hurt, you show him grace. But when Yuri Prochazka got an MRI of his shoulder, they took the belt off that day and announced the date they were going to fight for the vacated belt. It turned out that MRI, or the interpretation thereof, ended up not being true. It ended up being an inaccurate interpretation, and Prochazka came back, but he'd already been stripped of the belt, and they weren't even sure that they were going to put him back in there for the opportunity to reclaim the belt, the very belt that he never lost, that he lost to an interpretation that turned out to not be the accurate diagnosis. So now we got Pereira, broken foot, and we got Pereira saying he's going heavyweight. So what exactly is he saying? Is he now a heavyweight? Is that the proclamation? If it is, we're cool in the gang. St. Pierre gets credit for not holding anybody up. Khabib gets credit for not holding anybody up. Henry Cejudo gets credit for not holding anybody up. Letting everybody have the info and getting on with it. But if Pierre is telling this and we're not hearing it, isn't that on us? Pierre has given us information, but what? Is he saying I'm now a heavyweight? Is he saying I want to fight Jon Jones at heavyweight and then I will return to light heavyweight? Is he willing to do the Jon Jones fight at light heavyweight? Once you go up, you never come back. I'm telling you guys right now, if you ever splurge for a suite in a hotel, you're not going to return to the standard room. If you ever splurge for a first-class ticket, you're not going back to economy. It's just one of these things. If you ever going to go through a fight camp and you don't go through the tortures of cutting weight, you're not going to cut weight the next time. And you're going to see that real fast here with Islam, who's talking about going back to 55. Once he weighs in at 170, he will never return to 155. It's just that Islam doesn't know this about himself yet. He doesn't know. He hasn't been through the experience of going through fight week and not being miserable. He's going to find out how much he enjoys it. No different than when Conor left 145 and never went back, or when Conor left 155 and never went back to that. I'm just sharing that Pereira, should he taste success, is not going to go back. And if Pereira wants to have success, he needs to give the belt up. We have never successfully seen somebody come up a weight class and succeed that didn't give the belt back. Volkanovski failed to capture the belt at 55. Meanwhile, Ilia Topuria captured the belt at 55. Both moved up. What's the difference? One of them burnt their ships. Only one of them, Ilia Topuria, could either have success and be champion or fail. Volk, win or lose, wakes up tomorrow champion of the world. So it's a very big deal that we do get clarity on this. And there's nothing wrong with us trying to get it sooner rather than later. Pierre understands these things. Pierre is a man of tremendous honor and courage. He probably hasn't thought this through. I don't know that he needs to. He just had a fight. He traveled. It turns out he's got a broken foot. He's still doing media. He hasn't really had time to. But we do need to ask him, what is the message? What is he telling us? He's told us he wants to fight Jon Jones, but there's a bigger message there, which is heavyweight. And if Alex Pereira is in fact a heavyweight, boys at 205 need to know. It's the same information, whether you give it to him 5 months from now or you give it to him right now. And if Pereira is going to have success at heavyweight, he's got to burn his boats. Nobody has ever moved up while holding on to the title from down below. It's something to think about. Pereira is telling us he wants Jon Jones. He is telling us he wants the heavyweight. I'm asking Pereira, are you now a heavyweight? Is that the message that you're waiting for us all to hear?